this evening. I thought it was a great show. I learned myself a lot. I think I've got to think about the boundary question. Anyway, I'd like you to please stay seated because we'd like to bring up our sponsors that didn't speak at the beginning. And I just want to let you know that these sponsors that we have, we think of as partners. They're community, they're in the Boston community, and they gave us so much guidance on this program because they've been working so hard for so long. So I just would love you to stay for a few minutes and listen to them and hear what they have to say. So we have some final remarks to finish. First, I'd like to welcome Orlando Watkins, Vice President for Programs at the Boston Foundation.
You know, first, I'd like to acknowledge just the powerful education and community leaders that we have in the room tonight. And I think what they all have in common is a deep commitment and belief in the potential of our young people. And so I think for the panelists and everyone in the room who have worked with young people, just another round of applause, please. Again, my name is Orlando Watkins. I'm the Vice President of Program for the Boston Foundation, and we are really delighted to sponsor this event tonight. As a community foundation of Boston, we are committed to ensuring that all residents of our region are able to access the education and training they need to succeed in college, career, and in life. For many years, we have been a partner of Success Boston, which is the citywide college completion effort. And we have devoted so many resources to Success Boston because we know that the opportunities exist for individuals who have access to post-secondary credentials and access to training so they can achieve their full potential in life. Again, we are really, really pleased to be sponsoring this event. Thank you very much.
Okay, please join me in welcoming Glenn Wekerle. I have to say that Glenn came right from Napa Valley, and he smelled of smoke when he arrived, but his house is actually fine. So we really appreciate Glenn being here. He does university partnerships for the Chevron Corporation. He's the Global Director of University and Association Partnerships. Welcome, Glenn.
Well, thank you. As Soraya just mentioned, my notes are somewhere back in the house, not able to get to them. So I went old school, no prompter. So I actually started to jot the notes down again after listening, and I realized that it's really hard to kind of top the conversations that we had for the last 2 hours. A lot of solutions, a lot of work to do, but also a lot of passion in the room, and I think that's probably what's going to make the difference going forward. So that's just a thought as I was listening to the last 2 hours. So quick thank you on behalf of Chevron for allowing us to be part of this. We've got 60,000 employees worldwide. The majority of our social investment in the United States goes into education and specifically STEM fields. We have a lot of engineers. We like problem solving and we like solution-focused conversations. So that made it work for us. Just a key takeaway on mine, and I hope you all have your own. Rahema mentioned it right up front. The future is the present. I translated to the future is now, and I translated that to, act today, not tomorrow. And that's my personal takeaway as a reminder that that's pretty important to do, and I hope everyone here had something they took away. And then just one parting thought, and it really kind of gets back to the roots of why we get involved in these things. We believe that as a company, we have to provide equal access and opportunity. We're a private company, we have shareholders, and we have a responsibility to shareholders. But to make that work, we have to hire people, we have to hire young people, and those people need to have equal access and opportunity to grow up to get into the STEM fields. So that's a pretty critical thing for us. We also believe that it's not just about opening a door, it's about making sure that once you open the door that the environment or the climate is inclusive. So, the diversity ends up a lot of times talking about counting numbers and counting heads, and then really inclusiveness is about making all those heads count. And that's something that's really critical for us. Thank you. So what more can I say other than to say, we also believe that, all of those experiences and viewpoints are pretty critical to fueling the economic growth, and they're also critical to enabling human progress. And when we walk around Chevron, we have a thing, we call it human energy, and that's what that's all about. So just to close off there, thank you all for letting us be a part of this conversation, and really enjoy the rest of the evening and go off and act today. Thank you.
Okay, we have Peter Lynch, the president of the Lynch Foundation.
Thank you, everyone. I've been here for 2 hours. This is an amazing program. Absolutely amazing. Rahima, you're dynamite. I wish this was on national television, prime time, instead of another mediocre National Football League game. This is so important. We have such a problem in America. There's 45 million kids in public school. Half of them getting a decent education, half are not getting a decent education. That's terrible. We're the best college universities in the world. We suck at pre-K. That's a very technical term. Pre-K through 12. There's a lot of, and we're making a lot of progress. We get a problem. We're making a lot of progress. We've got to learn about it. Everybody's got to understand that there's progress being made. We have people here from City Year. My wife and I got involved in that 25 years ago. Teach for America, mentoring, Year Up. The Boys and Girls Clubs, the education program, the YMCA, all the preschool programs they do. There's so many things working. There's such a depression about, and we support about 10 different programs in district public schools. We're making so much progress. We got to spread that word out. Every day somebody gives an enormous check to some university. That's not much, and there's full rides to all these great schools. That's not an incentive if you're 7 or 8 or 9. What kind of incentive is that? There's a full ride to some great school. We got to really put it down in the early grades. And the second most important job in America is the teacher. The first most important job is the principal. Those people really have a job. Imagine being the CTO, the CFO, the CIO, the CMO, all the O's, and no one to talk to. So we got to do better with teachers. We have a program at Boston College, 18 months to coach principals, inspiring principals. They love it. They're doing so much better. Our district public schools are doing good in Boston. They're doing well throughout the country. This is a problem. We got to recognize we got a problem. I grew up, my father took sick when I was 7, died when I was 10. My mother never remarried. We got welfare checks. But I had great public schools. My wife grew up in rural Delaware. She had great public schools. Everybody should have that. That's the key. Thank you very much.
Okay, one more. Nick Donahue, President and CEO, Nellie Mae Foundation.
Folks, good evening. Thank you, Soraya, for the kind introduction. And I'd like to thank NBC and the JFK Library for hosting this evening, as well as our audience and the students and educators and community members who led such an inspiring conversation. Thank you. Give these folks a round of applause again. Tonight, we discussed how to prepare young people for successful futures. The conversation is imperative because our society's future depends more than ever on educational success. However, our research at the Nellie Mae Education Foundation shows that only half of high school students across New England are graduating fully ready to succeed in what's next for them educationally. These challenges can be greater for young people of color and low-income students and their communities who have been historically marginalized by a system that is historically inequitable. But as we've seen this evening, our schools and communities are rethinking how, when, and where learning happens. By calling traditional approaches to education into question, we can build these innovations and scale them, but our success requires collaboration among families, community leaders, and school districts. It will also mean continuing to untangle the issues of race, racism, racial equity, and class that continue to confound us all. We must fully support our educators, for this endeavor depends on them significantly. And finally, we must engage communities to lift up their vision, to hear their voices, to hear what a vision of positive educational future is as a North Star of sorts. All of this is hard work, it's fundamental systems work, but it's worth it. Our systems of public education are an essential public good. And as a public good, it must be nurtured and cared for, and it must work for all young people. And like an old home, our system has to be updated and renovated and modernized. Together, we can make sure this happens. And by doing so, maybe we can demonstrate to ourselves and the rest of the world what a great democracy does to prepare itself for a successful future. Thank you and good night.
And thank you all for coming and being part of the Education Nation night. And thank you to the sponsors, thank you to the audience, thank you to the panelists, and have a great night. Thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.